Howdy. Hello. Back again. Hey Connor. Hey Sydney. How are you doing? Back for another live stream. Um, Today, Connor's got a thumbs up. Today, I'm going to do something a bit unusual for me. It's putting me out of my comfort zone. I normally do a bit of prep for live streams, and it stands you in good stead because you don't get the demo gods very often that way, or that's the idea at least. But today, because I wanted to, I saw welcome Gary. Um, Lovely to have you here. I saw I thought it was an article in Google on my Google stream about 2-3 days ago, and it was about testing in the Power Apps. And I thought I'd go and play with it, but I've deliberately held off playing with it, knowing this is a preview feature. I've held off playing with it for this live stream because I wanted to put myself in a genuine position that people might be in, where you've got some experience of the Power Platform and you've gone for a role, and maybe because this happens a lot in IT, you sort of begin testing. And what I'm going to do today is I put myself in a position of being in that test role. Now, again, it's just to explain my background. It's a bit weird for me because I work with agile teams and scrum teams a lot in the past, and I tend to not think too much about separation between roles. Interested in anybody who's on the chat, what your experiences are with the idea of having a tester, or even the idea of testing and the Power Platform, because I've never been in an industrial size organization where the Power Platform's been used in a true sense, like for proper commercial applications. I've always seen it be and had experience where it's like quite small teams, maybe one person, maybe two people. So the concept of team and application lifecycle doesn't exist. So if you have got anything to share around how you've observed the Power Platform, whatever it is, whether it's Power Automate or Power Apps being tested, I'd love to hear, because it's a learning journey. But I'm going to put myself in a position where I'm going to imagine I'm walking into an organization, and I'm going to be called a tester. Even what I might be is I might be a Power Platform person, part of a development team, but my specialist subject might be testing. So I thought I'd just walk through it and play and see what crops up. But I'm going to do it in the context of an app that Connor's built, which is fab. It's going to be for a workshop that he's running on the 26th of July. You're welcome, Sydney. Always very welcome, Sydney. You're a perennial person on our streams, and it's lovely to have you. But yeah, so I'm going to test. The theory is the first product that lands on my sort of virtual desk is this learning management system. So we'll do a bit of I'll share my thought process with you. I haven't prepped this. I haven't thought it through in any great respect. So I'll start where I start, and you'll get an idea of how I might think of it. I'd be really interested in how you might think of these processes. But let me just whack on my screen. Stick on my screen. So I'm imagining I've done all that, employee onboarding, all that stuff's done. I have total honesty done a bit of prepping in the background, so there's a little bit of administration and governance that does definitely wrap around this. I don't just rock up and I get access to Power Apps. That hasn't happened. A million bugs. I don't think I will, Connor. I think I'll find it a really interesting exploration, but I know one of the things I'm going to find that I'm going to ask for your help with, and I might invite you onto the call, is when I start to use the app, my Power Platform developer brain's going to kick in, and I'm going to ask some questions and want to ferret, and I want to stop myself doing that. But let's just take a prerequisite for this. For what I'm doing is I've been given the right permissions to, and I'm actually going to use my Adele account again. I am this person, this persona. I'm on a different environment, actually. I've got my own environment here. And my job, should I choose to accept it, is to take this app that you're seeing here. I'm going to show you in a minute. That Connor's built, a learning management system. It's pretty much finished. I'd say it's like in its beta state. It's very much got edges that we've deliberately set out. It's got some things that we haven't built into it and some things that we have built for its purpose, but we'll come on to that. And I'm going to imagine my journey as a tester to go and test it. So Where do I begin? 97% there. Yeah, nice. I mean, it looks like it. So you're going to see, Connor, what another person might perceive when they pick up your app. And a lot of organizations will do this. They'll get given an app and they'll sort of they'll give it a bit of a test with a few people first. But so first things first, right? If I've rocked up and I've been given the right permissions, we're not going to touch on that. I don't want to go into that because it's a right old rabbit hole. If it were me and I'm sat on a desk and I've got my access, I've got my environments that I can play with, first things I'm probably going to be doing is I'm going to be either on my own, which probably happens quite a lot, with some paperwork or some documentation, or with Connor in this case. I'm probably going to want to figure out what this app's all about, what it's supposed to do. So if I was in like a Scrum team, for example, and I was this person, I might just sit down with the people, that development team that developed it, and go, look, right, I know you've developed to some standards, some, I'll use this term BDD, like business driven development. They might have a level of a spec which says this app should do this. So the language they use is as an end user, I want to be logged onto the app and see myself so that I can know it's me logged onto the app. I might inherit some information like that, or I might just sit with Connor and go, like, tell me. So I'm going to play Connor, and if I go way off tangent, you can pop on the camera and tell me. So the first thing I'm noticing, so I've come into an environment. This might be like where it's a sandpit environment. So come in, okay. First message I've got, I can see that I must have been in here before Connor released the latest version. So let's just go and get the latest version of this app. Let's see what it looks like. I know, Connor, I'm aware of that. That was deliberately left so that you get an awareness. So the first thing that I've got to be thinking is, have I got the right version of the thing? So that's what I just did there. So that's nice. I'm logged in as me. I can see that. So I'm actually an admin on this environment. So my experience might be a little bit different to what I'm going to show you in a minute, but let's ignore that. Yeah, well, that's agile development, Connor, a few minutes ago. So I've got a nice screen here. The use case we've got, I know this, I've read some of the documentation, he pretends. The use case is we've set this up as a pretty, what's the word? It's like a proof of concept. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, so my testing's not going to go too deep. But the idea behind this is it's a framework using Power Apps which allows me to see and create courses. Courses have lessons. So first of all, in my head as a tester, I'm thinking, right, well, I've got users, personas, then I've got courses as entities, then I've got lessons. Okay, great. I've got a search screen. Oh, look at that. Hey, that's nice, Connor. You can see me smiling. I like that. I like what you did there. That's way nicer than it was about 20 minutes ago. All right, so okay, so I've got some search capability. That's cool. So I can see Teams courses. I can click into courses. Cool, and there'll be some blurb about courses. So another thing I've got to be mindful of, there must be data. Great, fantastic. I've got information relating to courses I'm going to want to test. Okay. I'm going to have a look at this. What's this? Hey, Linda, very warm welcome. Hey, on the live stream, very warm welcome as well. I've got some courses I'm going to be playing around with. I've got some progress. So that's interesting. So there's going to be something in my mind firing off around making sure that aspect of it works. What's completed, what's not. I can see there's nothing completed. We've got a little bit about okay, I've got some icons down there. So that looks pretty easy. I've got okay. So I've got some what look like course categories that have been built. Cool. Anything more? Let's just click start a course. Because right now, really all I'm probably doing is what I would refer to as exploratory testing. So is there anybody who's ever done any formal testing on either the live stream or on the Teams call from the Academy? Because you can call me out on terminology, but has anyone ever done any testing like formally as a role? Chance to take a nice bit of coffee. No, cool. It's interesting. I mean, I used to work in organizations that followed very much a waterfall pattern of delivery. So um, use something till it breaks. I mean, to be fair, that's an approach, Connor, and it's not a terrible approach because that's really what exploratory testing kind of is. A bit about that. I used to work in. I mean, I've worked in banks, finance industries. I've worked in consultancies, but generally, like in my head, there's two threads, and in both of those threads, testing takes place. The first thread is this what I'll call like waterfall. So you have some level of certainty about what it is you want up front. You're pretty solid on that. You know what it's got to be. And actually, the reality of it is, I'd probably put this learning management system into that category. I sort of know what the boundaries of this product need to be as a broad principle. So I can write, I want this to be delivered. I want these screens to be like that. I want that to be like that. I want it to work like this. I want these users to be catered for. And then you can go into, I mean, it's waterfall because it like cascades down. You go from your sort of your thinking, your business designs, down to your development, perhaps. Down is the wrong word, but across to your development. Then you can go into, well, all the development's done. Let's pass it to the testers. And this whole kind of like factory Fordist approach takes place. And it does work really, really well for certain scenarios. The flip of that is I've been a Scrum Master for quite a few years and worked with Agile delivery. And the concept there is much more fluid because what you're trying to do is you're trying to build the smallest thing you can to test a marketplace or a persona, their interaction in your product, see how that works and see whether it achieves the result that you want before iterating on it. So what, rather than go through the phases and finish, you want to begin to develop something small, get to the very end, so that whole cycle is compressed, and that's where testing happens almost in that cycle. And very often it's like a 1 to 2 week cycle, so it's quite short, but you get results really quick, and the idea is you fail fast. Notice your button colors. So why was I saying that? I don't know. Why was I saying that? There was a reason I was talking about those two threads. This is the problem with live streams. Unless I've like got a script, I'll go off on a tangent and I kind of forget where I'd got to. Anyway, yeah. So that was exploratory testing. So in both of those, actually, I'd probably expect there to be a degree of someone gets hands-on at some point, whether it's very soon or in the process. The first thing they might want to do is set up, either based upon the documentation or what they understand this app should do at this point, some kind of mind map that says, well, I know I'm going to have a home screen, so maybe I'll plan to look around and make sure I can observe different things. I know I'm going to have a search, so maybe I'm going to try some search scenarios. And there's a load of tools you can do this with, or people write test scripts, but exploratory testing is just, let's faff with it. And that's what you just described there, Connor, is like, I'll faff until it breaks. It is a legitimate test phase before you might hand off to what I'm going to call manual testing. Again, it is different for those different strands. Waterfall tends to hand off to what you might call, yeah, it is very different. Waterfall tests, you begin very often with unit tests, so test a very specific small thing, and then you gradually scale out from there. Agile testing is probably, in fact, I'm going to stick to that because it's what I personally prefer, is more about you go through phases of testing the complete thing. Kind of makes sense really when you think about it. Waterfall is about progressive release of the one thing that you want to do, whereas Agile delivery is about incremental release of a working product. That's the goal of it. So I'll stick with that. So yeah, I'm going to talk about exploratory first would happen for me in there. Then I might do some manual testing, and all that is for your benefit, Connor. Yeah, I can talk to alpha and beta actually in a moment, but yeah, interested what people's views are. The step up from just exploratory, which people see as like, oh guys, just someone faffing around with a bit of a product, is manual testing, which is just a bit more structured. And I've seen people do it according to scripts, and they have tools to kind of measure the testing that they're doing and success and fail rates and all this great stuff, raise bugs, all that good stuff. So all I've really done here is a little bit of like pre-exploratory, understanding your app, and it looks great, Connor. Yeah. Button colors, that button color. Yeah, I don't much like that, but you've done a great job on the app considering it's been put together using Power Apps and the Dataverse. So what do I want to do? Well, all right. So I've had a play. Is there anything like on this, Connor, that you would put it in chat or come on calls? It's entirely up to you, that you would tell me that defines this app a little bit more than what I've just said? Is there any like constraints that I should be aware of, for example?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
hello.
was just
It's very brave of you, jumping onto my live stream, you crazy man.
yeah, I was just thinking. So when you say like constraints, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's difficult because I'm answering my own. Yeah, to a degree, I know what I want the answer to be. But what I mean by that is, if this app's been delivered to service a team that's only too big, or is this app been delivered to service multiple teams across an organization? That might be like one example of a constraint. Is this app, does it have a need to work? Are there any performance parameters, for example, is another constraint that I might like to know about. Things that have been set out, not just functional needs for this tool, but non-functional needs that I should be aware of to test it. Does that make sense?
Sort of. If we're talking about the kind of admin user side of things, I mean, it's designed to work with anybody that has obviously access to the tables and Dataverse. So that could be anybody basically with the Microsoft 365 tenant in your organization. It's designed to work in that way. In terms of departments and teams, there's nothing that really defines that as such.
Brilliant. Okay, cool.
But there is a level of admin / user roles that play a part in this.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
cool.
I won't tell you too much because I'll be just to see where you go to kind of look at these things.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll leave that
cool.
one with you.
Cool. Yeah, and it's that's exactly the sort of information I'd probably seek in a conversation, is just figuring out like what's the parameters for this app, and what should I be looking out for. Now, we know this is worth just sharing actually for the workshop's benefit, although ultimately this might become a product that we as Collab 365 wrap up to productionize it in the truest sense, as we call it. There's some things you'd want to do, but in like a 5-hour workshop you haven't got time to do all of that. So I know, just a bit of internal knowledge, that whilst we've sat this on the Dataverse, I'm not going to have to worry too much about security roles and all that good stuff, because as Connor's just said there, we've set it up in a really simple sense to understand a user role, but we haven't implemented all of that capability. And that's fine for the workshop. In the ultimate sense, if I were testing this, that would be another iteration. We might have created some tech debt there for ourselves, but we'll figure that out down the line. All right, cool. So I get it. I get the app. Great, fantastic. Where shall I go now? So I tell you what, next thing I'm going to do, because it's not just about getting on with testing, it was about that understanding, familiarization. I'm going to go and I'm going to get myself a version, because I don't want to interact too much with Connor's like development version. I'm no developer expert, but in my head I've got the idea of, if it was code, I'd take a branch and I'd go and use that, build my own environment. So that's the next thing I would probably do. Is I wouldn't expect to just rock up, test Connor's app, add loads of data to it, play around with it, tell him a bit's broken and get him to fix it. I'd expect to take my own environment. I'd expect to take my own copy. But I'm going to do that, spoiler alert, in my own environment. So a bit of a Brucey bonus. I'm going to figure out solutions, because what I want to do is I know that Connor's app has because I know this has got some tables. So he's got these tables here, and these are Dataverse tables. And as he mentioned, you could use permissioning to really go really deep on security there, but we haven't in this sense. So it's one app, and I think 5 tables. So, oh, there he is. He's just appeared on my live stream. Hello again, Connor, on the live stream. Okay, so right, solutions. What's that all about then? For me, you can see I've been playing with this. Solutions is a bucket into which I can place things, and then I can pick that bucket up and move it around. And I don't know who's played with solutions. Anyone on the call has tinkered with solutions yet? Yeah, cool. I think Gary, I'm probably at your level a little bit, but I mean there's way more than I'm going to show you now. But as a bucket, you can put things into it. So there, Connor's got this one. I'm going to create a brand new one actually. Let's just see how this works, because I know we've got solutions, and it might be I go into a team and there's two of us testing. So I would probably, what would I do? I'd probably like it if we both had our own solutions. I don't know why. Maybe not. Maybe there's a solution for us both to take into our separate either environments or even tenants. We'll go with John Auto Test. In fact, no, let's call it John Dev Test Solution LMS app. I'm sure there's a naming convention that you should use. I'm not going to talk about publishers. I'm just going to use some default publishers. So I'm going to create this bucket. That's all that is a bucket. And then into that bucket, I'm going to place the components that I know make up Connor's app. Finding the Power Platform a little bit slow today. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's just creating solutions. Okay, brilliant. There we go. So there's all sorts of ways to do this. I think one of the experiments that Connor was doing was he was building an app actually into the solution, and there's all sorts of ways to do it. But I'm going to add existing components to this solution. So again, just chucking things into the bucket. Let's have a go at it. Right, so great. There's his LMS 365 app. He's told me he's just published the latest version. Interesting, it says from Dataverse. So that's there. Now, because I want to get that across with at least the schema that I know sits beneath it, I'm going to add some tables. And this is where I think I need to be a bit careful. So, okay, great. Dataverse has a whole bunch of standard tables. They used to be called entities, I think. But what Connor's got here is a bunch of, I think they call them customizations, basically custom tables. Now, in the truest sense, we probably don't need all of these. There might be some in the Dataverse already we might reuse because of different use cases. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. So let's just grab all of those tables, add existing tables to my solution. This is key. If I don't, well, I was tinkering with this a little while back. If I don't include objects, and what are objects? Objects are the columns, it looks like. If I don't include that, I won't get all of the schema to be migrated into my environment. So let's add that. Noticed it. That's interesting. So you can include the metadata. Interesting, but not the objects. Want a little play with. So I'm going to add that. So really, I think it's now become as simple as that. I'm sure it used to be way more complex than this. So I've now got a bunch of things in my bucket. Let me just go and have a look, actually, see if there's any data in these courses, because I've just created reference to these tables. I haven't done anything with them. They still exist in their own right. Great. OK, so OK, Connor's course is there. Yeah, I agree, Connor. Prefixing your table names does make complete sense. Oh, have I just clicked some buttons like a complete plonker? No, okay, so they're still there. All right, so that's everything in it, right? I believe. So now, next step, create my environment. What time does the bar open? Somebody's just messaged me. I'd like to know what that's about, actually. Oh, that's my own bar. I've got a bar outside the back of my house. It's basically it's an old fridge freezer, a chest freezer, and in it I've brewed my own beer, and I put it in, but it looks like a bar because it's got a tap on the front. It's got wood cladding all around it. It's actually got beer cans stuck to the edge of it. It sounds terrible. It probably is, but I quite like it. It's quite a cool little thing. So yeah, that's on Saturday. What time does the bar open? Right, let's get back to this. Where was I? Is there a piggy bank or are they on the house? Well, Connor, I'm actually giving my homebrew away for free because in the UK you can't sell it. Well, if you can, you pay a ridiculous amount of tax. I think there's a certain amount that you can give away. The laws are you can give it away to friends and family. You can't sell it. The moment you start selling it, you have to pay duty. The duty makes it totally pointless. And also there's a load of health and safety issues and certificates you have to get. So I'm giving it away to friends. They'll come and sit outside in the thunderstorm. Right. Where am I? Okay, cross tenant. No, it's not it. This is the one. This is the one. Export solution. Now I noticed this before actually. Customization. So I don't think I need to. I think all of Connor's table changes and all of his app changes are already there, but I can't help myself. I'm just going to publish everything that's in that solution. That probably would be bad if somebody were in the background working on that solution and playing with it. But I don't know. I think that might be all right. If as I'm rambling along the stuff that you want to find out about, you like me to go off on a tangent and look at, I can. That's absolutely fine. Probably the extent of today is we'll get, I hope, to look at the testing capabilities because I want to get to that. But this feels like an important step because you don't test without getting the product into your own hands. Right, anyway, I'm not going to use a managed solution. What that means is it's going to manage the relationships and dependencies for me between the app and all its tables and anything else. What that also then means is that if I were to delete the app in somebody else's, in the other environment, it would manage all of that removal for me. But in the scenario I'm doing here, I'm going to take the Power App, I'm going to take the tables, I can mutually delete and add any of those. So it means I can break my own solution and it won't be Connor's fault. It'll be my fault. Whereas in a managed, I don't know, but I think that's what people will use in a client consultant relationship. They'll deliver managed solutions, which is like it's all bound into one package. And if you start messing with that package, it'll tell you you're messing with the package and you probably shouldn't because your supplier is going to smack your hands. Don't know, maybe. I'm not going to run solution checker. It takes ages, but that will just check your solution. All the different dependencies have been met and all that good stuff. So, and then you sit for a bit. So I'm exporting this now. So I presume it's creating some files in the background that you'll see I can download. So let's just pop over to Adele. So I'm going to get to the place that I might want to import it. Don't know if anybody else has noticed, but there's this warning keeps popping up around service URLs. We don't have to worry about it. We haven't got like firewall rules, but I don't know who that's going to hurt. Imagine organizations that have some rules, probably for like API calls and stuff, what you can interact with in their infrastructure into the cloud and out of the cloud will be killed by that. But that's interesting, right? Okay. So let's just check I haven't got any apps in here before. Okay, so this is my app state in this account as it currently is. What I'm going to do, this is quite important actually, I think, is I'm going to go into, this is a developer tenant that you see in here. You'll recognize Adele as a user and developer tenant if you've got one of those. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use my preview environment. And the reason I'm going to do that, in fact, I'll show you, is because I want to exploit some of the new test features. Simple as that. So let me just come out of that. If I were in the normal default environment, I think this tenant is set up as an EU tenant. We haven't yet, because Microsoft are mean. They only give the US the good stuff to you. If I was to film myself doing this, it might be quite weird because it's just a bloke talking to himself in the shed. I've just realised that. Anyway, So the Europeans we don't always get the good stuff, and the good stuff sits not in variables. Where am I going? What am I even doing? Yeah, maybe it's just, in fact, actually, yes. Oh, interesting. That has changed today. Yesterday that had preview, so I wonder if it exists in everybody's place now. But usually that comes before in America, before anywhere else. Now that's my default environment, unless I set this entire tenant up as a US. Let's just have a quick look. That's interesting. We might have just got more capabilities than I thought we had. Let's just go into that one. That's a model-driven app, silly boy. Right, have I got a preview US? Oh, I can go into that. I've been playing with that. Okay, yes, I have been playing with that. The stream's current bitrate is 1519, is lower than the current recommended bitrate. Sorry, people watching on YouTube, if that is, it gets a bit fuzzy. We can't control that from within the Teams interface, but I will look into that. I know how to get around it if it gets fuzzy on YouTube. Anyway, so advanced tools, interesting. Okay, yeah, I know we're a European tenant, so this is me. I'm going to go have a look at this because one of the things I was going to go through, I thought relied upon a US tenant. And if it doesn't, that's even easier. Oh, cool. Okay, great, Gary. Thank you. That's really good to know. And I know, Gary, you're a UK tenant, so that's very interesting. Well, yeah, there you go. So some tenants must be, I don't know. I, I really struggle with the logic behind these things. This is okay. Let's have a look at our default environment apps. Let's just go the inventory. It's one I played with a while back. Let's see where tests pops up. So you notice it didn't pop up on that learning management environment, but that might be because that was created as a Teams environment, I think, from Teams, if I can remember right. I'm clicking on the advanced tools. Yeah, okay. So it seems to be that is available wherever you are, which is cool. Okay, don't really matter. Right, let's go back to wherever I was. Don't save. I was in, where was I? I was in the learning management system environment. I was here and I was in solutions and I'd created a solution. Okay, so it's exported. So whilst I've been waffling along, that's great. Let's download that. So it now exists. You'll see it over here. JM Dev Test Solution. It's a zip file. Right. Let's go bring it in. Don't save that. That's an old version. I'm going to delete it just to sort of see what. In fact, I'm going to delete everything from. Let's go for the default environment. Yeah, I think I might have a permissions issue here, but we'll see. We'll see. One of the things I found, and I did have to do some like prep work for this, which is why I've got a few versions of this app, is if you're going to import solutions in the context of admin, you need to have a conversation with your admin basically, because I had to go and play with Adele's security role, also the groups that she was in, and I haven't quite locked down exactly which one allows you to import solutions to an environment. I made her a Power Platform admin actually, and that didn't quite seem to do it, which is a bit odd in my view, but it might have been that one. I might have been faffing with the wrong one, but let's see. You'll see the error if I've not got it. And I know, yeah, okay, in fact, that was the error that I had. So I played around with her privileges. It's the create entity privilege, so create tables. I've got a funny suspicion it'll be something to do with dynamics. Like, anyway, I don't want to go into that because it is a bit of a minefield, and I have got a workaround. I'm just going to try it one more time actually after I've been messing with her permissions. What did I call it? I called it John Dev Test Solution. Let's open that. There we go. Zip next. One thing I noticed when I did this, if I didn't have, if you remember when I created the solution with the tables in it, I had to click add the objects. If I didn't have those, I had some problems at this point. It said there's some missing dependencies. So it's always one to look out for. If you get errors when you import the solution and it talks about the tables, go back and re-add the tables to your solution would be my hint. This will probably take a few minutes. Yeah, meanwhile, I'll have a sip of my coffee. Seems to be, I don't know, 2 minutes, maybe less than that, but it might pop up with that error message. And then what we'll do is I'll just quickly do a quick validation test, i.e. just validate that I've got the same experience in my environment as Connor just showed me, or I showed myself in the other environment. And once the environment setup is correct, I can then go into that, like, let's explore testing specifically. But I was asked by one of, we've got we do a little bit of consultancy, and I say consultancy, what I mean by that is we support people in the Power Platform, because our day job, Connor and myself and some of the other gang, is to use the Power Platform to learn things and share those things. That is what we do all day. People have day jobs where they have to deliver products and they have deadlines, and it's super hard for them to do that. So we can offer, and we do offer, support for those people. And I'm currently supporting somebody who's looking at this whole concept of solutions and how that all works, and she's got some particular challenges around that space. So because this is my job to go and explore it, it's cheaper for her to ask me to go and explore it than it is for, I mean, she's doing some fantastic research herself, but it's just a good example of, we can help because we are dedicated to this. We don't have the distractions of having to worry about deadlines and stuff. But if, obviously if people need help under a deadline, we can, try and find the answers for them. But I am digging into solutions, so I found it quite interesting. And I found it a little bit easier than I thought I would. I think it's going to get more complex when, while that's just doing what it's doing. I'm pretty sure that when I go to this solution, if I were to start to get into security roles and profiles, pretty sure that's going to get a little bit more gnarly. Because as Connor and I found, although they're skinned up in this Power Platform sense to look quite simple and quite intuitive, when you get down to the nitty gritty of trying to employ a security role against a form on a table, and then try and employ the same security role against viewing that data, and maybe I'm talking myself into the answer that I need there, it just gets a bit more complex. We've managed to find out how you can manifest security roles in the apps themselves, because there are ways to get into what security roles you have. But again, it feels like it's going to be more challenging than you want it to be. So for the LMS app, we stopped, and we're going to create basic, not role-based access, but basic limitations on the screens based upon a role that we define. And then in the future, we're going to build on that, is the goal. All right, so yeah, that did fail in that environment. Right, let's just swap environment, because I'm pretty sure it works in here. Do not know why. It might be because she's got elevated permissions over here. Right, let's make sure she hasn't got any of that. She has not. Gonna get rid of the apps not there, which is good. Right, let's import the solution again. Same solution to a different environment where Adele does have the right permissions, I hope. Otherwise, I'll go into another environment that I know I've got permissions on. Let's import it. So yeah, then you sit around and you wait. So what I might do is I might have a quick bio break whilst that's happening and put my holding screen up. Stick around if you like. Drop in, drop out, but I'll be back in a few minutes. Right, back. Stood up for a bit so I can stretch my back and stretch my legs. You can see, I hope, sorry, my computer is buzzing. Random. You can see on screen it's successfully imported. The formula is empty. I don't know what that means. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Let's see what that actually says. That's helpful. I'm sure if I were to put that into a tool. Okay, I wonder if it's actually something to do with the package. I'm not going to go into that, but that's an interesting one. I might dig around in that one. But anyway, it's worked. I don't know why. I always feel the need to press refresh. So there it is. That's the solution. Okay. Okay. It's now imported successfully. Fine. Maybe it was just a timing thing. Let's open it up. Let's see what we've got. Now, I've got a funny suspicion. So it's got the app and it's got all the tables. So that's really handy. Like that was tenant to tenant. I really feel like it should be more complex. Like when we first looked at solutions, maybe it's because it's the Dataverse and a Power App. I don't know. It just feels like it should be more complex. I know it is more complex when you've got connection references to different data sources. I think this is because what Connor's cleverly done is he's wrapped this app up so it's pretty portable. It's got custom tables and an app, and they are just like they're a unit together. They don't require external connections other than a connection to the Dataverse in each environment. So long as you've got a Dataverse in an environment, logic prevails that it's quite simple. So maybe that's why it is a little bit of happy chance or design. I'm going to call it design. Well done, Connor. You designed a great app. Anyway, it's there. Cool. Oh, that's one thing I want to look at. So I've got these tables. Did I get any course data? So does data come across? It does not seem to have brought data. So that's really interesting. I've been able to bring data from a table of mine in a test instance. So that's one to look into. So what I'm going to expect then is this testing is going to be a little bit more problematic because I've got to set up some data, which I can do. Well, let's see if I can do. Yeah, that's really interesting. Something to look into there. So let's go to apps. Does it appear in my apps list? It does. There it is. 4 minutes ago. Let's just play it, see what it does. So again, this is where, okay, yeah, that's just because it's a dev tenant, that's fine. Start a 30-day trial. Let's do a US. Yeah, so this is an interesting one, actually. I may as well share this. This app, yeah, this app, number one, actually takes data from, takes videos from Microsoft Stream. Okay, yeah, interesting. Number two, it uses the Dataverse. Now, there was a very good reason for that. In its current state, that won't be obvious, but as a production capable app that is pretty portable, we chose the Dataverse purely because we can lift and shift it, as you just observed, to a degree. We know we can figure out how to deliver data in it as well, so we can deliver some template data, some setup data. We know that Dataverse gives you a lot of capabilities with security roles. It's super resilient, scalable, all those good things that you're probably going to need if and when you expand upon a learning management system like this. The reason I'm mentioning that is because that brings into play licenses which you don't get into play with SharePoint lists or lists in themselves. But it was a decision we made because actually, if you look, I did a little bit of research on this. If you look out in the marketplace, there's some really good products out there. I think one's called LMS 365. There's a load more. There are some freeware ones, but they're not great. the only like pricing I could find was for 5,000 people upwards, so like big organizational pricing, and it was something like $12 to $15 a head. So yeah, you do the maths, it's quite expensive. Here, there's a number of options. I'm just trying to recall exactly which option I take. So it depends on the licenses you've already got, but I was able to get a license for my environment for the Dataverse for this app. I was actually managed to get it for like £4.10, which is $5, I think, in the US per month. It calls it, it's a per app license. You don't license to Dataverse, you license through either, well, you license through the Power App licensing system. And what I was able to do was to get a per app license, which means that one app can be used in one environment. And it allows that app to use the Dataverse, which is why you just got that warning. Anybody who accesses that app, I think they'll catch you on the terms. It does say per user, per app, per environment. We've managed to have a few people using this app as a test without getting the warnings that I just got. That's because I'm in a complete developer environment. But I'll be interested to, I'm going to dig into the small print. So far, it's cost me like £4.10 to allow Connor to develop it and allow us all to use this app as if we were using it for real. Now, I think probably what we need there, if there's 3 people using it, is we need three per app licenses, but that doesn't make sense. So yeah, it's one I'm going to look into, but that's why you saw that message anyway. Because what it basically does, a per app license, is it attaches the capacity to your environment, and that's a specific term in environments for the Power Platform. It gives you that per app capacity, and then I went into the app itself in our instance where Connor was developing, and I consumed that per app license in the settings of the app. There's let me see if I can show you actually. This is learning management. Let's just go into, I'll go away. Set. Don't. Settings of the app. You only get this option once you've attached the capacity of a per app license to the environment, and then you go into your app and you consume that capacity. There you go. Was it here? It was not there. Let's just go into apps. Yeah, bear with. Very slow. Interesting. I'm not seeing it now. I did have a toggle on here. I can't show it to you because it's not there anymore, or it's in a completely separate location. But anyway, where I can see, basically it was per app license. Run this app under a per app license. Don't know what's gone on there. That's interesting. Anyway, so back to testing. So I'm now a tester, and interestingly, I don't know what's going on here because this doesn't seem to be working. All that really tells me, I think, because I know a little bit about this app, is that number one, I'm not the correct type of user. So I know that this might be an environment setup problem. It's probably a data setup problem for me because there's no data. And number two, there's no data. So do I want to solve that problem? I probably will. I'll solve it quickly by going and trying to use the edit form. First of all, I'm going to go and change my user record because I think what happens by default in this app is it sets me up as just a generic user. Yeah, it does. So my role is user. Now, so again, this is like something I'd expect to do as a test person. I'd expect to have to stage some data. It just goes part and parcel with it. You don't just test. You learn. You like your business brain. You learn to create environments and you learn to set data up. Yeah, it's this role, isn't it, Connor? As you are confirming, it is that. I don't have to save anything. I think I've done it. Let's go back to the app. Let's see what that does. Hello. Yes, well, that's done one thing, which is good. I can now create courses, which might get me around the second problem. I don't have to go and interact directly with the Dataverse. Just create course. Oh, right. So I am doing genuine exploratory testing. So the first thing I'm probably going to guess is that if you were to roll this out, let's strip this back. If you were to roll this out, you probably would have the experience that I've just got, which might be a bit baffling. But I'd be, yeah, you'd have some level of requirements set up to give people some information when they first land, if data is empty. Because as a shippable product, you're gonna not ship with data. So that's probably, I probably would think about that as would I call it, if it wasn't spec or a user story, but by that I mean as a new user to the app, I want to see that I've just arrived at the app and what to do next, so that I can not click around like a muppet. Would be the kind of language that you might use. It's the as a, so that. Yeah, the, oh crikey, what's the BDD language? As a, I want, so that. The three sentences that you begin, and it helps you structure your thinking when it comes to both delivery and testing. So yeah, as a first time user on the app, I want some information to guide me so that I don't become disoriented. That might be a perfectly valid user story that will go in your backlog, and a development team would deliver it. The fact is we haven't delivered it. That's fine. It's never been asked for, so I couldn't really call it a bug because I haven't. I'd probably go and speak to a product owner or whoever it was that was speccing this thing out and say, do you know what, that'd be a nice thing to do, and wait for that to come back round to me. So Connor, there's number one, is in the future as a shippable product, it would be worth us thinking about that particular use case, but it doesn't matter. So I've now got past it. I've got a workaround. The workaround that Connor told me to do is to go to the user table and create myself an admin. So I'm now going to go and I'm now going to start exploratory testing in the create course. So my mind here is starting to write test scenarios. I'm probably going to split them down like behaviorally. That's how I think, and that's how a lot of the agile teams that I work with tend to sort of spec things. I remember working at First Direct, and we had it was a banking app, and so we had one team working on the user login, one team working on the profile stuff in the background. We had a team working on the see my accounts, so you see where this is going, and a team working on a account history. So they'd broken it down and they were thinking about the product in the sense of its many different user journeys, if you like. So I'll use that language, I'll stick with it because it's the terminology that's most familiar in my head. I'm going to think about the create course. So as an admin, I want to be able to create a course so that I can make sure my new product is in circulation. That might be a user story. It probably would be like a high level, call them epics, and then you have specific things underneath that, but doesn't matter. So I'm going to click create, create a course or a lesson. Okay, cool. So I'm going to create a course. I'm gonna, so again, this is exploratory testing, but probably what this would help me do is form some more proper manual tests. But I'm going to skip a lot of this, and I'm going to get into, because I haven't got much longer left, I'm going to get into the automated testing, but I'll just do this one example to show you. So course title would be, let's just call it Learning Management Build Workshop. Let's call it challenge, because I think in the future we probably will make this into a challenge, which by that I mean like bite size. Hey, no problems, Renera. Lovely to see you again. I hope your meeting goes well. Always welcome back. If there's anything you've seen you're interested in, just pop us a note, and happy to do more detailed stuff on it. Yeah, so we'll probably make this into a challenge. The challenge being like bite-sized, progressive, make this as you go. When Connor's finished with this, because he's doing a Pathfinder on this as well, and by a Pathfinder, God, I'm chucking terms at you. By a Pathfinder, what I mean is he's going to do a bite-sized course, set of lessons, which are less than 5 minutes usually, all on a particular topic, but it's progressive, and he's going to focus on UI in Power Apps. because he's really strong on that, and I think it'd be a really fascinating. This is quite a good example of something you can take and turn into something beautiful. At the moment, it's deliberately rudimentary for a different purpose. He's got a lot of the kind of the look and feel sort of nailed on, but there's a lot goes into the thought process. So his Pathfinder challenge for Power Apps will focus just on UI, not the features as such, but how you make things work better for human beings. So anyway, tangent, I went off, but yes, so we'll make this into a challenge in its own right, along with that UI one. So if you want to build one of these, go to Connor's workshop. If you want to build it progressively, we'll do a challenge. Learning management builds challenge, let's call it that. Challenge format for LMS. Difficulty, I know there's some formulas in here, so I'm going to be giving that, what do I give that? So here's the thing. When the user story was written for this screen, one of the elements would have been, as a course creator, I want to add a difficulty score from 1 to 5, let's call it. Let's pretend that's the example, to my course, so that people can visually see how complex a course is. Now, I would be inclined to raise defect against something like this because there's no validation I could put. Can I put in? Oh, there is validation, you sneaky little beggar. All right, so there's validation, but you didn't really give me any indication. So, yeah, okay, you'd probably put that as a low severity. You'd go cosmetic, and the response would be, give a little bit of information. Have we got any alt text? We haven't. Okay. There you go. There's a little thing we can tweak, but not for the workshop. Doesn't have to be done, but that's interesting. But I like the fact you put some validation. I'm trying to tap my keyboard letters. Do you know what? Nothing's happened. So let's give it a in fact, let's give it a difficulty of 3. Is it 3? Yeah, it's a 3. Length. Again, he's got some validation on there, which is nice. Okay, good. Length. One of the things we wanted to do, we haven't done it yet, but we might do, is use a business rule here. We might allow the setup of business. Is it business rules? Yes, business rules in the Dataverse. You can. Cool. So Connor's just shared, for those you can't see the chat, that the Dataverse column settings is handling the validations. There's nothing in Power Apps here. This is the column saying it has to be numeric. So that's interesting. That is very clever. I like that. And again, you can hand off some of this other logic around length to the Dataverse through a business rule. You can set a rule that says if somebody puts something more than 60 into that column, because effectively that's what I'm doing here, is I'm writing to the Dataverse, a business rule can run, and we're going to experiment with putting a notify up with the business rule error, because error handling is an important one, but we've deliberately not focused on that because this is about features and form. Yeah, well, that's really interesting, Connor. So again, just to share what he's written there, so you get a lot more capability, a lot more features in the Dataverse than you might do in a SharePoint list, to our knowledge, to really easily do things like validation. But what struck me here, I'm putting an architect hat on, is he's handed off validation to the data layer. I mean, ideally, you know, a business layer would be nice, but to data, you're not handing it off to the client layer, which is, I mean, yeah, maybe clients where you do client-side validation, don't know, but yeah, it's interesting to think about whether that's good or bad or ugly. But it seems good. I mean, it's letting the Dataverse, which has got bundles of power, deal with it. But I guess you've got to be connected and make a call to the Dataverse. Interesting. I'd like to see an architect's viewpoint on using that. Anyway, don't matter. So release date, I'm releasing it tomorrow. Don't know what that means. Category. So I've got no categories because I know my data's empty. So I'm going to create a category. I'm going to call this challenges. Okay, it's all nice and seamless. I mean, there's some visual aspects that we would pretty up. So there it is. It's a challenge. It's popped in. So I'm just going to create a new category of workshops. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so I can add it again. There's a use case there. A user story. As a course creator, I want to create categories during the course creation process so that I can select the ones that I want, and if they're not there, add them. Click create course. Just going to read into the chat a little bit. That's interesting. The issue with client side, if a user created an app that didn't have validation built in, they'll be able to add whatever they want. Yeah, I think you're right, Connor. It's just in my mind, I'm wondering whether there is a principle behind client side validation versus having your data constrained by the data. For me, there's probably a case of both, but I don't know whether that's wasteful. No. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. It's great. The data is not going to let the data layer is not going to let crap through. Data or business layer validation is useful so that multiple client or batch apps will not need the validation. That's a great one, actually, William. You're not going to be at the mercy of whether the Power App developer puts in the validation. It is done, and they are just simply plugging into whatever validations there. It's controlled centrally. Yeah, and you agree with that, Connor? I think that's a really interesting perspective. Nice. I'm going to click create. An entry is required or has a course image. Oh, course image. So that's interesting. Right. Okay, I did not see that. So again, yeah, it's a behavior thing, isn't it? Like a little bit of the UI. We'd have to look into whether we care about that or not. Let's just pick an image. Oh, that's a nice image. But the good thing is it fired an error because there's no cover image. I just hadn't spotted that I needed a cover image, but you know, that's just UI. Yes, yeah, I'd agree, Connor. It's like this is what manual testing and exploratory testing often brings out. It'll just get through the real raw edges, and then you get into once they're done. So again, like for me, my brain's just fired there. For me, I would always use this exploratory manual to begin with to just give it a good going over. That's a way that I might create my use case, my test cases. Maybe I've already written those. If I'm even a really good agile delivery person, I would have written them up front. But like you can get the rough edges gone, which is cool. So there's another one for you. A little bit of a rough edge there. Maybe make it obvious that there's something needed. Whether there's anything we can do, I don't know. Click create course. So it's created course and it's taken me to new lesson. Okay, it's already populated the course. I like that. This is the again, you'd probably want some tool tips, but that's a UI thing and an enhancement and maybe another sprint. This is the first lesson. Always get myself set up. First, some stuff. Don't matter. It's a 5-minute lesson because it's a challenge. Lesson type. Okay, that's cool. So I know in this one I'll do a test case for this. I'd have a lot of test cases. I'd have a video branch and a text branch. I'll just create a text course. This is lesson content. So you write it directly into there, cut and paste it, whatever. That's interesting. Yeah, okay. So that's like your biography, your short summary for your video, possibly. So again, you know, like if you were doing a proper LMS, you'd probably want choose a video and some text rather than exclusively. Don't know. So there's maybe a thing, not for now, but it's for a future change we might need to do. Let's create the lesson. Let's see what happens. So I'm still back at the create lesson, which is cool. Now, again, I'm assuming some behavior here. Let me just, I'm going to do something because I'm naughty. I'm going to put the same order. Call this lesson 2. Let's see whether I can break some stuff. I like breaking stuff. That's what exploratory testing is all about. This one will kill your app. I'm going to do this one and then I'm going to, author doesn't work yet. Yikes. Yeah, I'm going to do that, Connor, because I want to see what happens. Length is 100 minutes. It shouldn't be. It should be 5 minutes. Lesson type is video. So again, if I've selected video, there's my URL. That's different. So I'm going to just not give it a URL. Just give it something. Create lesson. Right, I'm done. again, this is all like if you were doing agile delivery and you were doing a show and tell, I can well imagine someone would want a "I've finished" button, you know. But that doesn't matter. It's fine. It works. Order's not actually being used yet. That's cool. It's fine. So I've done all of that. So I'm now hoping that when I go to home, I don't see nothing. Why don't I see nothing? I do not see anything. That is interesting. So I wonder, that's really interesting actually. So as I've created those, why am I not seeing them? So I would probably at that point raise a defect because I've got to not be the person that goes and explores. I am going to do that, to be honest, because I'm really interested and nosy, because I think my environment's set up badly. The result of that defect might be, John, your environment's set up badly. I'd work with a developer to figure it out, but I don't want to dig too deeply because I want to just try this tool that I've been banging on about, the test tool in the Power Apps. I'm just going to have a quick look because I'm nosy. Let's go and do a bit of ferreting. So in my tables, I know I've been creating courses. So let's just see if there's anything been written to that course table. Okay, so there is a course. Okay, interesting. See if there are lessons. So, okay, great. I would definitely raise a defect there. I don't know what, I'm not going to assume it's a problem with the app, but I'm going to create a defect, which would say I have created a course and 2 lessons in that course, and neither are visible in either the home or the search, which is cool because it would be an interesting thing for Connor and myself to go and dig into. And again, it might be because my environment, but I'm not going to go too far into that. Right, deep breath. So what I want to do is I'm going to go into the app itself. So imagine I've done all of that. I raised a load of defects. Imagine Connor's fixed it. Here's my next step. Right, well, to be truly efficient in delivering incremental products, you can't manually test everything. Simple as that. You can't go through that whole process I've just done to test the create course every single time. It wouldn't be efficient because human time is quite expensive. This is what we always talked about when I worked with like the NHS and stuff. Is it's expensive for us to do it. It's cheaper for us to set up an automation to get it to do the testing for us, and then all we're doing is firing new changes at it and let it do, especially when you get a more established app, let it do the regression test pack for you. Call it a pack, it's just a list of tests. So it's that I've got a sniff we can start to do a bit more now. I don't know if anybody who's watching has ever used any automation tools with the Power Platform. I'd love to know if you have. Pop them into chat, or pop what you do for that scenario into chat. If you only ever manually test according to a script, then I'd love to hear that too. So while you think about that and while you post your responses, let me go and click edit, because yeah, manual testing. Yeah, I mean, that's all I've ever done until this point. What's the name of the app that we used? Oh, crikey. It's a browser. So I'm going to go back to that example of First Direct. What we had after manual and exploratory testing was, excuse me, bear with me. That's our front door. Oh, I will just go for 5 minutes and I will be back. Right. He's back. Sorry about that. We have a Ring doorbell, and it told me someone was arriving. They weren't expected for about 45 minutes, but they arrived. And if I'd have left them, my son would kill me because he's got an Xbox Series X that he's had for about a year, and he's had the most awful TV to use it on. So he's not making advantage of the high res, high refresh, all that good stuff. So we had a little bit of slush fund, and I treated him to a very cheap 4K monitor, which has just arrived. So there you go, story of my life. Make money, give it to the kids. Anyway, where are we? Right. So yeah, like automated testing didn't exist to me in Power Apps for ages. There is Selenium. That's the thing I was after. There are tools like Selenium that will do automation on apps and things. I'd never experimented with it because it looked too complex, but we've got this now. Tests. Let's open tests. Does not seem to need much from me to be there. It's just there. Enable error management in your app. Okay. Formula level error management is disabled. Let's do what it tells me. Ebook published app. I'm going to click that on. I don't want to do environment variables. Where is it? So it's an upcoming feature. That's interesting. So maybe that is the thing that's the nod to what you need on. Yes, that does say to me it's not like truly in the public domain yet. If I'm still having to click upcoming features. Okay. All right. Well, it's done. Okay. Right. Let's go back to it. Open tests. So I've seen a few videos on this. I've not played with it much. The real basics of it, like screen automation, almost like in my mind, recording macros, seems really simple. But what I was really interested to play around with was what's called assertions. So when you start to get away from manual testing, and forgive me if you're a tester and you know this way better than I do, when you start to get away from manual testing, you start to want to assert an outcome from a specific action. Well, it might be a series of actions, but let's just talk specific small actions. And they call them assertions. I came across it for the first time at First Direct. And so you write specific, using language, using an expression, an assertion to say, I'm going to assert that at the end of this is the outcome. Basically, that's the simple plain English version of it. Never tried it. Let's try it. First of all, let's just have a look here. So what's that? Oh, I'm going to do that anyway. I don't know what that is. Do not know what that is. YAML. That's the yes, that's right. Not going to play with that. I'm going to record my app. See what happens. Got a funny feeling that this will record my interactions and allow me to replay them. So create. Testing controls inside components is not support. Oh, okay. Oh, there's an interesting one. Connor's used a component as the structure for the left nav. It can't see inside components. Somebody at my front door again. Oh, it's my mum. Hello, mother. I'll go and see her in a bit. I'm going to click create course. It'll record that. So that's interesting. So you can't automate inside components because stuff happens inside there that it clearly can't see yet, which is part of the problem with Selenium and Power Apps, I think, is it can't really understand what's going on inside some of the stuff. So chorus 1. So here, while I'm doing this, I'm going to try and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I want to create an automated step that I can also then code with an assertion, so it automatically says yes, it's passed or not. Because it's all well and good me recording the macro, but if it's not testing the outcome, then the automation's not much use to me. So what could I do? what happens as a result of, so let's just go through this. It doesn't really matter. Let's just do this. Difficulty 1, length 1, release date to date, workshop. Oh, actually, that could be an assertion. When I click, when add new category is submitted, the count in category choices goes up by 1. I think that's the kind of thing it's after. Let's just, I'm going to do it. Right, let's just do that and click create course. Yeah, of course image. Okay, yeah, course image. Right, so I'm going to get all this. I think this is like when you use Power Automate Desktop, it's quite good at recording. Oh, you can see, I mean, you can see all the things that it's doing here. It's like I can see that Connor has named his items. Tut tut, not brilliantly, young man. like I've ever cobbled something together and named it properly. I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I said I had. Anyway, so like, right, done. Okay, finished. He's going to respond now. He's going to just call me a rude word. So this is cool, right? I should be able to. Most of the important stuff is yeah. Well, I mean that's a good lesson, isn't it? Don't waste time naming stuff that's irrelevant. But when it comes to probably like industrial debugging, if we were to ship this product, we might find we have to be a bit more mindful of what we deem as important versus what somebody at the end of it. It'd be an interesting test, wouldn't it? Like I might send you an error that says datacard4.txt reported an error and I didn't know why, and you'd be like, what? So that could be interesting. Anyway, you see what it's done? It's created actions, set properties of things. Okay. Let me just, I'm going to save that. That for me. Oh, okay. Okay. Sweet. I'll get it now. You can have a test suite. So the test suite can have test cases. It's just hierarchy thing. So I could have a suite which is, you can probably rename these. Yeah, of course you can. Right. Let's just call this. This is going to be my create course. That's how I'd do it. I'd go. So I'd break this down a lot more, but add course screen. That's my test script for my add course screen. The test. Oh, okay. So you can set stuff up at the beginning when test complete. Properties in your app. I like it. Ah, okay. I won't play with that just yet. Yeah, there you go. Right, so create course would be 1. I might have, if we'd have built this function, we haven't yet. Remove lesson, say. There might be a remove lesson test case, but I won't do it yet. But that's what that seems to be doing. So let's remove that. So I've got that. I'm going to save it. I'm imagining if I publish it, I can share it with other people so they can run it. I'm just going to play it for now. Okay, there you go. Changes to you need to be published before you can play your test. This will also publish the app. Okay, fine. That makes complete sense. So publish your app and your test cases, and then you'll be able to run this automation to its end. Now, it'd be interesting to see actually what it's going to do with those bits where it errored. I find this quite interesting because we do a lot of we do a lot of app development, but it tends to be one-off. We don't often incrementally release products, and if we do incrementally release something like version 1, version 2, this is going to be absolutely critical to us, I reckon. Yeah, okay, right, so it's doing all that. You can see down the left-hand side, that's pretty cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah, good. Runtime error, object not found. Yeah, it couldn't find the object I'd clicked on. I wonder if I can take that out. Yeah, I wonder if I can take that out. If the problem is, I'm going to try something. What it's basically said is start it, can't find the nav, can't do all this. If I were to get rid of click the nav button, it won't find this because it don't exist on that screen that I'm in. but let's just do a thing. Right, can I change these? Yeah, I can, yeah. Delete that. Where did I just see that? Test on test case start. I wonder if I can write formula here. Navigate. Oh, that's quite cool. Screen create. Bosh. Let's try that. So you can stage it to go to different locations. You could stage it to start at a button and do things after that. I quite like that. Yeah, I know you're going to tell me to publish. I'll publish. It's like anything that I'm finding with the Power Platform. It's good, but when you get into the edges of reality, the reality of it, you find its limitations. Let's try it. Is it going to do the on test case start? So it should have moved me to a different screen. Don't like you. So on test case start, did I do something wrong there? On test case start. Screen, no, it is screen create. Oh, yeah, okay, well, wrong course. So actually, what's the course? There we go. Screen create course. Divot, wrong screen. Yeah, I do, Connor. You're required to publish to be able to test, so it's keeping everything. Yeah. I guess. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's just like going like push the latest version and then test the latest version. But yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, the concept of publishing is it's out there. So you do all of this before you do that proper environment control, application management lifecycle, pushing this to another environment, the production environment. I would probably guess that this all happens before that stage. Of course it would. So your publishing probably isn't the publishing in the sense that we would refer to it now, because all you're doing is pushing the latest version. Yeah, that's sort of what it is. Right. Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's what Connor was saying, Gary, is that he does create a bunch of extra version numbers, which sounds a little bit hack. It's just increments, isn't it, in your app? It does seem a little bit wasteful. Yeah, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. What was it, Connor? Create course. Let's try that. That'll work. Yeah. Well, so this is interesting. I'm gonna have a look in a minute. Publish. Let's see how many versions of this have been published in the last few minutes. Okay. Yeah, so it might be that the reason I'm not seeing it properly is because Adele is a basic user, but that's, yeah, fine. Let me just have a look at the app itself. How many versions have I got? Or is it a test script publish? Don't know. It did suggest it was a genuine. Let's have a look at the versions. Yeah, that ties in. So it is literally saved by Test Studio. So every time you're doing it, it's giving you a new version. Ooh. And what it didn't seem to do, we'll have a look at this, didn't seem to give me anywhere I could update to say why this has just been published. Because yeah, you could end up with a whole string of publishes. I don't know what the word is there. Taking a while, isn't it? So for those of you who can't see that, we've lost connection with your app. Brilliant. Restart the connection by re-entering the tool. Thumbs down. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a flaw. I'd imagine it's going to get better. Somebody will have put that on their backlog and said that's a bit daft. Seems that these test scripts go along with the app. I also don't particularly like the fact that you can't get into components. I understand why, but if you're going to have a testing tool, you've got to cater for the things that you can build in Power Apps, right? Publish the way to freeze the change in their version. Yeah. Interesting. Your session's disconnected. Restart before. Okay. Well, I'm going to restart. Okay. Right. What it's saying is just get out of here. Go away. I'll come back. I'll go back into the app. So that good old-fashioned brand new product flakiness, brand new product doesn't quite work as we expect. It's a bit like the new Teams, which I know is becoming better. I saw an article this morning about the new Teams becoming the default in September for most organizations. They'll still keep the toggle so you can come out of it, but I'm really hoping they've got the good stuff working in the new Teams. And this might be like that. I mean, like I said yesterday, I'm sure it was yesterday when I played with this, that said preview after test. So I think it's really new. Might Google when it came out. Yeah, so these are tests for that app. Let's just see what's been set up. So right this time, I mean, yeah, that is ridiculous, right? I've just come back into it. I've not changed anything and it's forcing me to publish a new version. Don't like that. Good shout. Yeah, Sydney, I completely agree. Publishing is that thing. It's about freezing your latest version, but this does not seem to be needing of that level of, hey guys, I've got a new version. Hey girls, folks, this is a new thing. This is just in order for the tool to run. It's a bit wasteful. And it could be confusing if you've got, I wonder whether people they'll have things hooked into versions. They'll have a version practice. So that kind of discipline could be a bit disrupted by this sort of tool. And this is what you don't get from the lovely videos that you see out there going, oh yeah, brilliant, this great new tool, it's fantastic, it's great, you can use it like this, and hey, look at this, and all those product demos that you see. You don't get the reality of using it. And it's only when you start to play with it yourself you find its edges. What's the requirement for the system to request to publish again? So in this case, Sydney, what seems to happen is whenever you want to play the test cases, as I've just created here, let's say I record, create some new test cases. Whenever you do that, it's asking me to publish. But you'll see here, I've got in a infinite loop of sitting waiting for it. And what it seems, yeah, I think you're right. This is a sort of information that could be passed. I mean, I've seen this before when new product has been released into the cloud space. And I don't think this is a significant new product, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that Power Automate's getting a new interface. Lots of stuff is being changed. And so to a degree, I kind of expect this. It's like released as MVP, a bit flaky. It's not great, is it, when you're paying an awful lot of money for these things? But that is the nature of the beast, I think. So I sort of always take these with a pinch of salt. I tend to give it a few days, see what's happening after that. Like Connor and myself yesterday and today have seen that the Power Platform just seems to be grinding. It just doesn't seem responsive. I mean, like, yeah, so how long did that take? And you don't have any control over this. Oh, there we go. Right, so let's see what it does now. So we get the ticks. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's a bit like robotic process automation is taking place, but in the cloud now. It's like Power Automate visually. So interesting. Right. Well, there's the basics of it. The edges of it we've found already. It's a little bit flaky, but it also, so it doesn't do some components. So it doesn't do some controls, i.e. components. It will not be very pleasant for those that are averse to not publishing every time. But there's a tool there that can be useful in certain contexts. How long have I got? Let's look into the chat. It's one of my gripes about Power Apps constantly asking for publishing no matter how many times I try again to make something work. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, you can, if you can be disciplined, Sydney, about it, and I'm really bad at this, you can only publish when you've got a significant and working change to publish. I've got this terrible habit of publishing whenever because I want to be able to roll back to a previous version. But I think if you're disciplined, you can make the Power Apps work for you. But this is forcing your hand This is behaving like me, publishing things whenever you've made the smallest change, and you don't want that. I don't think that's a very good practice to get into. So yeah, I'm going to have a little look at assertions. I'm not sure I'll get very far because I probably will finish. I'm going to give it like 10 minutes on assertions and see where we get, because that's nice. That's like macro recording. You could probably do some stuff with that to get outcomes. Your green ticks tell you that everything's worked, but I can programmatically test for something, test for an outcome that I expect. I think you can inspect the properties of things on your screen to check that the actual behavior you wanted is not just point and click, but it's actually happened. So let's just have a look into that. Done. Right. Can I add step? What else can you do? Can you move steps around? Bet you can. I can move it up. What? So I can move it up. I can't move it. Can I move it down? What? Did I move it up or did I move it down? Oh, it's because it's the last step, you divot. Right. Yes, you can move steps up and down. So you can do things in different orders. So that's nice. Okay. Right. Let's write this as test new category count. So if I'd reset my data, okay, good. If I'd reset my data, I could run that script there and I would add a new category and I'd expect there to be 2 categories, I think. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and change. Don't save. Bet you won't like that, Power Apps. Right, my tables. I'm going to go into the categories. What's category? I think I've got 2. Oh no, I've been messing. I've got 4. Right, okay. Well, it doesn't matter actually, because you can add duplicate categories. So remember that I've got 4. So let's imagine my base data has got 4. I'm going to assert. I don't know how to write this, so I'm going to go and look at Google. Give me an example. Yeah, example. Let's just see what this comes back with. Let's catch up on the chat. Yeah, so mention of things like source safe, and I think I noticed it this morning. Where is it? It's not there. Somewhere. Where was it? Where did we see it this morning, Connor? There was you asked me a question. What's that? And it was a source repository in Power Apps. So what's the requirement system to publish? Yeah, help desk needs to cover information. Yeah, so and we'll talk about this at the start, Sydney, a little bit. There are different mindsets and there are different approaches, and although I've worked very much in agile contexts, I've been a Scrum Master for some years, and I've been a coach and whatnot, helping teams navigate what can be a bit of a minefield of product delivery. Talked about the different disciplines. There isn't an absolutely correct discipline. Anybody that says to you, you should always use waterfall or you should always use agile, genuinely, I don't hold that belief. I hold the belief that there will be the right process of delivery for different environments and different demands. And when you come to that I'm ready mindset, this is done mindset, it lends itself more to the sort of the waterfall. I've seen teams do it in iterative delivery where they have a development process and then a test team, often called QA teams, in a small Scrum team. They pretend to call it, but it isn't a Scrum team. And they'll hand off to each other. Now, the true essence of product delivery in that sense is we are all developing, we are all delivering, we are all in this together. That's the Scrum essence, really. That's how they help people understand that framework. But totally take your point that there's a level of you should be able to publish in your own place before that official publish. And I think that's where I sort of started with this, is that so long as it's in the context of you, maybe it's not so bad. It's when you start to get versions that are held in a central location and everybody's publishing the same one, I think this could get quite tricky. But yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, it's funny, William. I was like almost instantly clicking for Bing. I also use Open AI a lot. I'm going to go to it in a minute. Oh, a slippery slope there, Sydney. Talk about project delivery and project managers and all that stuff. Roles of developers. There are very different. The landscape is broad. That's all I will say on this topic. I love the landscape that allows a group of people to come together and develop a product, and a product that suits a need, and fail fast, produce an increment and give it to them. That does not work in every situation. We talked at the very start about this LMS system being quite known up front. And because it's quite known, it lends itself to, you're able to do a lot more of the procedural delivery, waterfall, call it what you like, but step by step, because you know more up front. Whereas product experimentation is a different beast. You don't know what's going to happen, so why invest loads? Anyway, right, okay, where did I get to? Assert. Yeah, let's go. let's go and ask Bing. You'd like, actually, that's a good point. You'd like to think that Bing's going to get this right, because it's like, it might, in fact, I'll go over here. Let's go over here. Bing's going to get it right because it's a Microsoft product. Which one do I want? This is my good Bingland. Right. Don't think I've got Surfshark on. I have. Right. Okay. So assert. Give me an example. An assert statement to try out in Power Apps test. What do they call it? Gone to the wrong place. Where's Adele? Come back, Adele. All is forgiven. What's it called? It's called tests. Have a look. Yeah, go away. Do that. Save. Just save. I'll do this and then I'll stop because I want to see this assert do a thing. Right. I just want to structure my question carefully. I think Bing's pretty good. OpenAI ChatGPT 4 we've got inside OpenAI. It's really fantastic. I'm genuinely starting to like it a lot. I think it does get things wrong. We had some step-by-steps that I was looking into the other day around security, actually, and it was just wrong, because it even says openly, I get this data from 2021, which is the last time it's stored. So it's just called tests. Okay. But the more specific you can be, the better it is. Right, give me an example of a search statement. Let's try it in Power Apps test. See what it makes of that. Yeah, to that point, I'll be very surprised if it, well, maybe it can. Okay. Here we go. Oh, right. Okay, so it's actually interacting with the properties of. Right, let me just so look at this. So assert. Okay. So wow, so you could actually just test the text of something. Can you do a, can you tell how many choices are in a choice? I've probably picked a really terrible one there. I wonder if you can check the value in tables. So yeah, reading this, available result.text equals success. The value expected, success, the actual. So it's good. So, okay, so then you're going to get, giving you some feedback, what you got and what it wanted you to get. So these are multiple assert statements. Oh, wow. Okay, let's just try a really simple one. Okay. I'll have a go. I won't spend too long because I am over time today, and my lovely mother has arrived, so I need to go and say hello. Otherwise, she'll think I'm ignoring her. So assert. Let's just stick it in here. So, tell you what. In fact, let's go back to the app and let's just think what I would want to do. What would be a good little test for this? So, create course. So what I'm going to assert is that the choices, yes, annoying. I know that choices are smelly, or that's a drop down. It's probably based off a choices column. I know that they can get smelly, and I'm always reticent to try that. I might try and play with the table values, or the choices value selected is the new one. Let's try that. So, okay. This may be something I need to play around with. Okay, so new category. Insert. What's that? Data card value 3. Right. Not quite right, is it? What are we saying there? Comma. Want some more? So open. So the thing. Okay. I think I've just got the wrong syntax there, silly boy. Because it doesn't know. So it'd be the. Ooh. Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, something to do with the I've got a funny feeling I'm doing this all wrong. No. I want to know whether the currently selected item, the date item, maybe it's an item. So I don't like choices field. I always get stuck. Let's have a look. Selected item. Selected item. Selected. It's wrong. It's wrong. So is it the value of? No. No, that wouldn't make any sense, would it? Yeah, that's what I was just trying. Selected items dot value. No. How do I test the value? So let's try Bing. Let's try Bing again. It's always in the syntax. Yeah, I think you're right. It's because it's a multiple, it's a lookup, not a choice, isn't it? Probably. So I might have chosen a bad example to try out. Okay, choices field name dot. Oh yeah. It's not choices field name then, is it? That's my problem. It's a column with multiple values in it. Let's try something different for now. I don't want to get bogged down in that one. Yeah. Yeah, it's no concept. It's a list of it's a list of values in a column. It's not quite seeing it in the same way I might be thinking. All right, let's just try something else. Let's try a really simple example. I mean, the simplest one is after a step that I put title in. I can just I can assert the title equals the text that I just put in. I mean, it's not achieving anything, but it's just giving you the idea of an assert. I mean, yeah, I could do that. Could do that. Just want to try one more thing. Actually, I want to try and see if you can read into the data to see what's happened after a create course button gets clicked. Let's do that. Let's do that. Right. Let's add a step. Can I record on top of this? Saving new steps will overwrite the existing ones for this. See, that's a bit poop as well. I can't append to these steps without writing them. Okay. Right. Click create course, because I think all the other stuff works correctly. Select. I think it was select. What's the button name? Button 1. I don't know if that's the right button, but we'll see. So I'm going to create course, and then if that works, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess with some text and see if I can interact with the data. I don't know if I'll be able to. But this would be like, I mean, okay, so what I joined as a tester, technically, an hour 50 ago. I've had 2 breaks. So far, I've got an app. I've played around with it. I understand the app a bit. I've played with data. I've imported the solution. I've set up some manual testing that I might have written down somewhere, and I'm also doing some automated testing, as you can see here. So it's not a bad result, really, for a brand new tester in an organization using Power Apps. So employ me. That won't work because it'll say, oh, this will be good, actually. Right. So it did the thing, and we got the error message. So where is that error message? Course images required, because that would be good. That would be a good assertion to grab hold of. That if I don't do all of the things, I will assert that I get an error message. So I'll be testing an outcome. Where's that? Where's that going to happen? It's in the course image data card. Course image data card. Let me just think this through. Error message. That's where it's going to pop up error message 5. So if I run through this script, let's just try and write this. Right. I'm going to assert test error. I just want to assert that it's not going to be empty. Assert. What was it? It was error message. Honestly, I do worry about my memory. Error message 5. Dot. What we got? Text. Yeah, what I want to do is I don't care what's in it. I just want to care that something's in it. I'm not sure it's either empty or is blank. So my assertion is that at this point, this step will only pass if there is an error message of some variety. Do not care what it is, but if the text is not blank, let's try it. Thumbs up or thumbs down if it's going to work. Should put a prize on the answers. William, was it yourself that Connor nudged me over the weekend asking about the preview environments and how I set that up? It may not have been, and I apologize if I've just called out the incorrect person. Oh, okay, cool. Right. Maybe. So genuinely all I did to play was two things. I can very quickly go over it in a minute. Right, so here we go. I'll stop and I'll come back to it. Oh, okay. Test error. What happened there? What did you do? Is it not giving me a pass or fail? Interesting. What am I doing wrong there? It's neither failed nor succeeded. I mean, maybe it doesn't give that that report. I'll quickly just dip back into that as a final parting note, William. I'll just quickly dip into the environments and preview features and stuff. Yeah. Could be the error message exists elsewhere. I mean, I don't know how we assign it to a screen. It knows I'm on the screen. I'm testing for an error. That error message 5, does that exist anywhere else? Yeah, I mean, it is unique. So it knows about that. It's on the screen. The screen's in context. It's in memory. I'm just wondering whether an assertion will pass. Tell you what, let's try this. Right. I know I've got an error, so I'm going to do not is blank. Let's try that. Oh, no, let's try that. I'm going to try something. Oh, that's interesting. That did not cause me to publish. So that's very interesting. So when you record the steps, it asks you to publish. When you create assertions, either I'm doing it wrong or it didn't ask me to publish. What I'm hoping is this will fail because it's going to assert that that error message is blank. And because it is not blank, it's going to fail the test case. Let's see what happens. Drum roll. It's getting there. Boom! There you go. That's what it was. So because the assertion's passed, it doesn't give you that little success. What it says is, no, it's failed. Your test failed. But I mean, come on. Okay, no. Honestly, if I was a tester, I'd be giving them some feedback around this. The test failed at step test error. I know that because I can see it with the following message: assert failed. Okay, brilliant. Why have you now passed this test? I mean, I suppose the test case is completed. Yeah, and I suppose I'd have to assign the word successfully. For me, the test case has failed because the outcome I expected and asserted has not happened. But hey, maybe I'm just being too pedantic there. But yeah, well, that worked. Stupid how pleased you get with yourself when you learn a new skill. I'd love to dig into asserts a little bit more and all the language there, but it seems like it's quite powerful. I don't know if I'd use it yet. Yeah, just need new terms. It's successfully terminated. Yeah, I mean that's true. It's successfully terminated. It should have said terminated with an error. If you were doing if you were doing automation testing in the truest sense, what you'd be expecting here is that I've seen teams do this. They set up dashboards with literally red, amber, green lights, and they have a test pack running. The problem with this is I might try and intercept the on test case complete and put an indicator onto that dashboard. Now, I don't know how this is all structured in the back end, but it might flash green for me, and that wouldn't have been a successful test. It would have been a failed test. And if I had a pack of these, again, you're pulling me back in to have to figure out what's going on. I just want to click. I want to click the tests, let them run, and if they pass, I can have confidence you've covered my risky bases there. So I'd want to do a bit more playing around with this. Yeah, so you need to go to your use cases, figure out what you required to happen. Yeah, well, that's the assertion. What I did there, the assertion I made was that I required there to not be an error message. Now I knew there was going to be it because I required that behavior. For me, this test failed. the true sense it passed because it did the right thing, but I would want my automated tests to report that without me having to go and scrutinize the tests. So that's the bit for me again that might be missing in this, is how I can understand that an assertion has failed within what could be quite a complex automation. Because if I've got 10, 15, 20 assertions, 100 of these automation steps, and the end result is a green tick, my brain's going to go, that's fine. I'm not going to want to go and look through this list, but actually I'm going to want to have something which looks at it. Again, I'm hooking it to another concept I've not even introduced, but of a pipeline. So I've got steps along this process I want to automatically run as a result of the predecessor step being perfect. In this case, I would want the pipeline to fail. I would not want this to be deployed to production if it hadn't passed. So that's something I'd like to dig into, and I won't do that now because it's a whole longer story. Yes, oh, absolutely, Sydney. This is not unit testing. This is about taking testing through to being able to release products. So stages and gateways and all that good stuff. And it's not a topic I'm going to particularly go into today. But we started the topic. If the topic remains of interest and you're watching on the live stream, hello. Or in the academy, and it's of interest, then like seriously drop us a message somewhere, just put it in the forum, tell us more about testing, or just pop me or Connor a DM. We want to explore this further, and we'll explore it further. So for now, I think I'm gonna sign off. It's been 2 hours longer than I expected to be here, but thank you for being with me. It's been nice actually to have company. I quite enjoyed playing around with that. So yeah, same time next week, 2 o'clock next week in the UK. Yes, 2 o'clock, which is 1 p.m. UTC. Perfect amount of time, yeah. And I'm going to go and say hello to my parents and my kids and see if everybody's okay. Yeah, well, you stay safe. Lovely spending time with you. And I shall end the stream there. Take care, everybody.